Hey, this is Robert Monroe, and I'd like to welcome you to the second edition of Debunking the Difficulty. And I will fully admit that this series name comes from a different content creator on YouTube. It goes by the name of Ryu and does this on Nintendo games. But let's just jump in to what I'm talking about. And what I'm talking about is how do I take an instrument, say guitar, like we'll talk about today, and think about it in a way that makes it approachable. There are these difficulty spikes when you're learning an instrument that make it very challenging to continue and have the grit to keep learning that instrument. And so let's get into it and let's talk about what specific difficulty spikes I think are present when you're learning guitar. This is not going to be some tutorial. I'm not going to teach you really anything. I'm just hoping to give you a little insight on how to think through these challenges. So let me start out with the really obvious early difficulty spike. I think guitar is a brutal instrument to learn. I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. I think guitar is one of the most challenging instruments to start learning. Here's the reason why. When you start picking up guitar, your fingers will hurt. They will. Unlike piano, hey, if something hurts on piano, you're doing something wrong. Unlike singing, if you're singing and it hurts, you're probably doing something wrong. Sometimes you'll get some pain. It's not really pain, it's like exercise fatigue in your abdomen when you sing. But other than that, any pain, doing something wrong. Drums, doing something wrong. But guitar? Oh yeah, you're probably doing something right if things hurt. Your fingers hurt because the strings are pushing into them. Your fingers also hurt because of the strength that you need physically to just push down on all the strings, especially when you start doing chord shapes. That is the first big challenge, and I think just addressing it is one of the biggest ways to get through this. If I know going into it it's going to hurt, well, then I just have to commit to it. Also, what helps is knowing it will not hurt forever. As you keep playing, you will get calluses on your fingers and you will develop more strength in your hand, especially if this is the first thing you've really done with your fingers. It's like rock climbing. The first few times you rock climb, every single muscle in your hand hurts because of all of the strain of holding onto the rocks. But then you get used to it and it's not as bad. That is the first massive difficulty spike. And again, I will reiterate, I think guitar has potentially the biggest beginning difficulty spike of any instrument. After that point, it starts to get smooth sailing. And this is going to be a weird take, but I think the second biggest obstacle guitarists face in getting better is complacency. And I know you might be going, whoa, you're getting way too esoteric and weird with this. Well, let me explain what I mean by this. And I just realized I never turned on my mic, so unfortunately this is all going to be camera audio for this video. So, what I mean by complacency is that when you are playing guitar and you learn those first few chords, your fingers stop hurting as much, it's so tempting to not learn where the letters are on the guitar. And I think the biggest hack, the biggest debunk for guitar is knowing where the letters are. And I want all my guitarist friends to jump on me in the comments and say, no, you don't need to know where letters are, or yes, that's absolutely true. Here's the reason why. When's the last time you played an A flat major on guitar, or E flat major? My guess is you've been avoiding those keys because you're terrified of them. And that's a big shame. That would be like, again, avoiding playing Super Nintendo games because you're worried about the difficulty. Well, there's a really easy solution. All you got to do is learn the letters. It's like the contra code for guitar. Once you know that, you know where everything is. And you can start anywhere. The patterns are the same. So if you know your E chord shape, but you know where all the letters are, guess what? You also know F, you know G flat, you know G, you know A flat, period. All the chords. It's an amazing tool. That's really the second big difficulty. Weirdly enough, I think it's complacency. Now, what is the final difficulty I want to address in this particular video? I think the final difficulty, and this is going to be a weird one, is communicating with other musicians. When we learn guitar, we learn it in this very pattern-centric, kind of esoteric, I use that word again, sorry, language, where it's all very guitar-based. So it's going to kind of go right along with learning the letters. I think you kind of need to learn a little bit of theory. When you learn that little bit of extra theory, it is going to help you so much on your instrument, but it's also going to help you communicate with other people. And guitar is very much a team instrument, but the relationship of most guitarists with other people is one of, hey, I can play this, can you play with me? And then it becomes frustrating, and this is where people give up. Because they know how to play certain things, they go to play with other people, those people do not know their songs, they get frustrated, and then they either go back in their basement playing the same songs over and over again, or they give up entirely. Don't be that person! It's not that hard to just educate yourself a little bit about theory, a little bit about other things. We've talked about learning the notes on guitar. We've talked about learning a little bit of theory so that you can talk with other people. We've talked about how guitar hurts your fingers. Well, these are massive things that stand in your way of becoming a guitarist that can play out, enjoy yourself, and grow from there. I want to mention one more thing that I think is really cool that guitarists can do that not any other instrument. I think of one other instrument that can do this. And that is you can practice literally everywhere. And the more you just walk around your house with your guitar on and just going for it, it's even better if it's electric, because then you can't hear it, other people can't hear it, you can just rock. You can just go for it, just scale shapes, day in, day out, while you're making breakfast, while you're watching TV, while you're watching your kids, just going for it. This is huge, and that's the final little piece of, let's say, advice that I'll throw out there. I'm Robert Monroe. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm planning on making more and more of these as we continue. So stay tuned next week. Might start talking about drums, who knows? But if this was helpful, throw something down in the comments. If it wasn't helpful, just blast me in those comments. I'd love to hear about it. And until next time, peace out.